Is being good at your job really worth it? I've been thinking about this question for a long time. Not because I'm bad at what I do, and not because I don't care, but because I cared too much for too long. I followed the rules. I tried to do everything right, and I became someone people could rely on. At some point, I realized that the better I became at my job, the smaller my personal space started to feel. My time was never really mine. My energy was always assigned somewhere else. Being good didn't give me freedom, it created expectations. From a very young age, we are taught that our value comes from performance. We learn it early, even if no one says directly. When you do well, you're praised. When you behave, you are accepted. When you get results, you're seen as valuable. So we grew up believing that effort always leads to something better. That if we work hard enough, stay responsible, and do things the right way, life will eventually reward us. We carry that belief straight into our jobs without ever questioning it. At first, it seems to work. People notice you, they trust you, they depend on you. You become the person who gets things done, the one they go to when something is important. That kind of responsibility feels like recognition. It feels like proof that you're doing something right. But slowly, the dynamic changes. Being good stops protecting you and starts defining you. Your effort is no longer something people appreciate, it's something they expect. The moment you slow down, hesitate, or say no, it's noticed immediately. Not because you are doing poorly, but because you have set a standard that now works against you. You're no longer rewarded for being good. You're questioned for not being perfect. And without realizing it, your job stops being something you do. It becomes something people assume you will always handle. Here is something we don't like to admit. Being good at your job is often not what gets you promoted. The people who move up are not always the smartest or the most capable. Many of them are simply better at being visible. They know how to talk about their work, how to position themselves, how to be seen. Meanwhile, the people who actually carry the weight of the work stay exactly where they are. When you are truly good at what you do, you become too valuable in your current position, not valuable enough to promote, but too useful to lose. So you stay, you take on more, you solve problems you didn't create, you explain things to people who earn more than you. The irony is painful. The more intelligent, responsible, and efficient you are, the less incentive there is for the system to move you forward. Over time, exhaustion sets in, not the kind that sleep fixes, but the kind that comes from constantly giving more than you receive. You're not failing, you're actually doing everything right, and yet you feel drained. stuck, and quietly resentful. That's when you start questioning whether being good was ever the point. There is another truth we rarely say out loud. Most people don't like their jobs, not in a dramatic way, quietly, deep down. If they could live without fear, without financial consequences, many of them would do it immediately. They stay because of stability, money, and the time they have already invested. We normalize being tired. We normalize feeling disconnected. We normalize living for weekends and calling that balance. And being good at your job doesn't save you from this reality. Sometimes it traps you in it even longer. Because now you're not just stuck, you're useful. Maybe the problem was never that we weren't good enough. Maybe we were just too willing to give our best to systems that were never designed to give anything back. You're more than your productivity, more than your job title, more than how useful you are to someone else's goals. And maybe real success isn't about being good at everything you are asked to do, but about knowing when being good is costing you too much. People often tell you that you have a lot of potential, that you're talented, capable, and reliable. At first, that sounds like a compliment. But potential is a strange word. It's often used instead of action, instead of growth, instead of real opportunity. You're not promoted because you're not ready yet. You're asked to wait, to keep proving yourself, to keep doing more. And years can pass like that. When you're good at your job, it slowly becomes part of your identity. You stop seeing it as something you do and start seeing it as who you are. So, questioning it feels dangerous. Living feels like failure. You don't want to disappoint anyone. You don't want to waste your effort. You don't want to start over. So, you stay longer than you should. You watch others move forward. People who arrived after you. People who do less. People who struggle with things you handle easily. You don't say anything. You tell yourself to be patient, to focus on your work, to trust the process. But slowly, frustration builds, not because you want more than others, but because you expected fairness. And fairness never really shows up. If we are honest, most people are not chasing fulfillment at work. They are chasing security. They want peace, time, energy left at the end of the day. Liking your job becomes secondary. Surviving it becomes the priority. And being good at your job doesn't guarantee any of that. Maybe the real question isn't whether being good at your job is worth it. Maybe the question is how much of yourself you're willing to trade for being seen as good. Because work will always ask for more, but you don't always have to give it. When you're good at your job, people stop noticing the effort behind it. Things just work, problems disappear, deadlines are met, and because nothing breaks, no one asks how much it costs you to keep everything running. Being good doesn't make noise, and what doesn't make noise is easy to ignore. Once you've been the reliable one for a long time, slowing down feels dangerous. You worry that if you stop giving extra, people will see you differently, that your value will disappear the moment your effort becomes normal instead of exceptional. So you keep pushing, even when you are tired. At some point, you realize that success was never defined by you. It was defined by schedules, expectations, metrics, and goals that had nothing to do with your actual life. And yet, you shape yourself around them anyway. No one tells you that being good is only valuable as long as it's convenient. Loyalty, effort, and responsibility sound important, but they are rarely rewarded in proportion to what they cost you. They are appreciated quietly and exploited efficiently. Maybe being good at your job isn't the problem. Maybe the problem is believing that being good should be enough to feel fulfilled, respected, or at peace. You're allowed to want more than being useful, and you're allowed to stop proving your worth through exhaustion.